All right, we'll give people a few minutes to filter in here.
Yep. It still hasn't popped up on the web, so
Yeah, I think there's like a 15-second delay.
yep.
There it goes.
Yep.
I'm still hunting for one more thing. I got a bunch of tabs open. You know when you put something on Facebook and you should have marked it as one thing and it's not marked as that? Yeah. So, but yeah. Well, I see we got a couple people coming in here. So, hey guys, well, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. So, Sunday Father's Day special. I don't expect a whole bunch of people to be here tonight, but we're going to talk about the heroes of the day, fathers. So, happy Father's Day, Chris. Hopefully you had a good one. So, Willie, if you want to start, that's fine. I got to find one more thing.
So I'm going to break in tonight's topic with some dad treasures. And, it's one of those things you just never know when you're going to run into your dad. Now, my dad passed away almost 20 years ago. So, unfortunately, the last 20 years of my mayhem, he hasn't been a part of it, which sucks. But every now and then I find stuff, as I go rooting through and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't open that up before. And in 20 years, I open up something and, I found his build sheet for his 69 Valiant. I never even knew I had this in my possession. So, and yeah, his window sticker for the same car, bought like 2 towns over. Never even knew I had this. I mean, I knew I had all old envelopes, old books. And I find stuff like that, like from time to time. I found this receipt, foreign car parts in New Jersey. I'm thinking, what the heck? We didn't have any foreign cars that I knew of. Well, here's a little trick of the trade. A lot of the foreign car part dealers were getting parts for export at a discount, and then they were selling it instead of exporting them. They were selling them to hubs here in the States. So it was cheaper to get like OEM parts from a foreign car parts dealer back in the day. This looks like August 20th of 1964, and on the receipt, only the 4 has to be written in. So these receipts were printed for the 60s. Pretty amazing find there. And I was trying to figure out what that was for, match it up to what car he was buying it for. And I can't, it's just blowing my mind that it doesn't tell me which car it was. So, but I mean, I found other stuff like Sears battery warranty stuff. A lot of this stuff is glove box find, like you get these glove box envelopes, 76. So this was for my 76 Volare, which was previously owned. My dad's aunt, as in my great aunt, owned it. And then in 86, car was 10 years old. I got it. Wasn't my first choice, but I stuck with it, and it grew on me. So I've got books and stuff with traces of my dad on it. Like as Gator always says, if I bleed on something, it turns into a Sure Grip, or it turns into something rare and special. So I find stuff like that my dad sweated on, like operator's manual for his 69 Valiant. And these infamous little books. I've got tons of these all over the place. This was my dad's trademark. And like I was saying, he's got it May 12th of 86. And then he says what he does, part numbers, PC, PCV, and the so every month he's got a log in here of what he changed, month after month. 86, January of 87, and that's his handwriting. I mean, that's this stuff's gold to me. This is like he's standing right next to me in the garage here. And I showed before on the forum, I was digging through some of his Chevy parts because my dad went every which way. And I don't think he was into Fords, but I think he might have had one Ford. But Chevys and Mopars was his thing. This was the 70, says 76 Aspen, speedometer cable grommet. And again, it's neat when I see his handwriting on these slips of paper. He was always good about meticulously documenting what something was and why. And again, this has the date, as the bill of receipt on it. It's just some amazing finds. And I mean, just digging through some of this stuff, like we had a 70 Dodge Dart that my brother used at the tail end of college. Again, drab green, just like my dad's Valiant. It's just these finds of stuff that, my dad built a torsion bar tool for the old torsion bars. Basically it was 3 or 4 U-bolts through a T-bar of steel. You'd bolt it on and smack the T-bar and it would push the torsion bar out. I lent it to another buddy in Georgia for his 69, and he's got a 70 CUDA.
Nice.
But it's amazing what you find in these old glove boxes. So this change purse, it's not mine. This belonged to my dad's aunt, and it was in the car. Years later. I mean, I didn't look in the car probably the first couple of years, didn't do a full search. Years later, it was actually an ex-girlfriend of mine went rooting through the car, probably looking for other girls' phone numbers, because that's usually how you did it. You had little slips of paper with girls' names and numbers. Again, back in my day, you didn't just program it into your phone. So anyway, she comes up with this change purse, and I said, that looks like an old lady's purse. Come on. That that's not evidence of me having another girl in the car, at least not a girl that's, below the age of 35 at the time. So it turned out my great aunt, and told my dad, he's like, well, keep it, we'll tell her we found it. I bet you she doesn't want it back. I bet you she's got a bunch to replace it. I said, but there's coins in here, and some other interesting trinkets. Not even sure what that is, but lug nut washer. I must have put that there. This isn't the first time I've been into this, obviously, just doing some detective work, but it's just fun, as much as, messing around with these cars, or, I know a lot of the front wheel drive stuff of the 80s is really interesting, because a lot of folks, those K car wagons, those Airy K wagons, and those Reliant K wagons, I've seen a few that are made in the gassers. I want to do one like that. That just seems like, there's no rules. It's just,
right.
Let's do it. And there is one in town here that I keep eyeing up. It would be perfect as a gasser. It's an later one though. I like the look of the earlier one, the early and mid 80s. This might be a later 80s. I'm not sure when they stopped making a K wagon, but definitely, just it's not something to see, especially get it, on a Jeep axle out front, little jack in the air with a small box. That's something ridiculous. A big old shifter, up above my short head. Yeah.
That's we seen a Falcon gasser today. It actually looked pretty nice.
Yeah, we had last Monday at our town cruising, we had a 62 Chevy Nova, Chevy 2 gasser, straight axle come up, flames. We had a 57 Chevy, splash flame. It's like, that nostalgic stuff. And again, this would have been stuff, my dad would have been like right in on, seeing seeing all that nostalgic, that time stuff. That that's the real time machine. Time machine. Maybe a DeLorean, but you know what? There's time machines. You see, someone just posted. I think there was a wagon, Valari wagon or an Aspen wagon. Someone posted maybe in the last couple of days, and it just had the period look correct. I mean, bam. There's a real time machines when you see that. And then, when you go digging into them and you find like personal effects, like last summer digging through a 4-door Valari parts car. Yeah, I found like a change wallet and some other personal effects. Just let them in there. They don't belong to me. The car, I was grabbing parts. I'm paying for the parts, but the souvenirs, you leave that with the car. That's, probably something of, taboo to take. But it's amazing, what you find in this paperwork is just, it has a story and it's all interwebbed, connected. I mean, I'm going to go decipher the build sheet because the story of the car goes, my dad bought it in 69. It was the fall. It was a leftover. He needed a car. I've been there myself where, tail end of the summer, whatever I was driving was beat on and I just needed something a little more reliable to get me to work. And the Valiant was very economical. This thing had a 170, 13-inch wheel. Yeah. That's on the build sheet. I'll just read the build sheet. So, D34 torque flight transmission, D51 axle ratio, 271, 276, engine 170 CID 6-cylinder, R11 radio solids. I'm assuming that's solids. Yeah, solid state AM, power steering, white wall tires, 6.50 by 13. Destination charge $64. Subtotal $2,704.70. Total 276. Wait a minute. Let's flip that up.
That's amazing.
Yep. 2,768.70. So yeah, it's just treasure trove of just factoid stuff. As we know, a lot of that paperwork, it disintegrates, it's gone, pulled out. Yeah. Much like any of these cars, by the time we get them, they're 40 and 45 years old. They've maybe changed hands a lot. Unfortunately, there's hackers out there that hack up wiring and do all kinds of crazy stuff, like put hood scoops on them and jack them up in the, it does. It's interesting though, when something was done period, like correct for performance, or you lift the hood one day and you find like the old school tricks. The video up on Gators from yesterday, we popped the hood on that 75 red Roadrunner, and there's some paperclip activity going on in the thermoquad. And looking from afar, it's like, yeah, that's just something holds up. No, actually, there is a trick, old school, cheap shot, old school, backyard Budweiser mechanic type, to use paper clips to, play around with the secondaries opening up, so that you maybe got a little bit of grunt, so the secondaries wouldn't come in until maybe a higher RPM or higher speed. That, I think, what was occurring was guys would start messing around with these cars and they would bog and throw, thermoquad is, it's a pretty beefy carb, especially for a small block. But they run them. And trouble is, if guys are used to tuning Hollies, thermoquad, they might not get the thermoquad. And I think that was the case back in the day. A lot more guys knew how to tune on Hollies. Just my speculation. But yeah, the like Chris was saying, that's forever stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, nowadays, you know, what do we get? We go to car shows and never fails. You go to a car show, you disappear from your car for a while, you come back, and you got nothing but flyers for another car show. And nothing against these guys, you know, that's great because, you know, some car guys, everything's out on the web. We got a couple of local pages that tell you what's going down. You know, you can look ahead, what's happening. I myself, you know, I host another Facebook page for local South Jersey car shows and swap meets. And, you know, I pull stuff in, I share stuff into it, and I make sure, you know, there's like smaller venue stuff, like churches might have like this one has a Father's Day cruise with a breakfast. Mm-hmm. That's pretty awesome. I was probably going to go, and then I woke up, felt like cutting the grass. You know, was gonna, you know, work up a sweat and jump in the pool. But the, you know, the good thing about those flyers, you know, sometimes I'll end up with 2 or 3 of the same show, and you know, usually they become notes for me. I write stuff down on them and then start digging through. I'm like, oh wait, this has something written on it. And I have to think what the heck I was thinking when I wrote down on it. But yeah, it's just amazing, you know, some of the papers you find in these cars, and in the books. I mean, just flipping through this. So, you know, I flipped through. This is a Chilton's for a 68 through 76, and you know, there's some notes in here. Looks like I have to decipher some of them. And then of course there's you know, some Polaroids. Looks like my dad, me as a kid, my mom, yeah, holding a page for something. Unfortunately, I grabbed the book and they fell out, so I don't know which page they were sticking on.
Oh, so,
no. I got the whole book to flip through, though. I'll figure it out. So, yeah, it's like stuff like that, you know.
Oh, yeah, that's what I miss about that older generation. That's like when my grandpa passed away, we found out about his picture collection. That man used to take pictures of everything. Like all our trips, you know, all the, you know, Mopar Nationals, all the races he went to, and then he would categorize it by year. So there was just like, here's a whole box in 1993, and then it's all subdivided by months, and everything's labeled, and it's like
that's how they did it. Yep.
Yeah. I was going through some of that last Christmas, but there's so much to go through. I mean, thousands of pictures, thousands. But oh, you lost your audio. Or is it me? I think it's you. No, maybe it is me. Oh, you muted yourself.
All right.
Hey, I can hear you now. But
yeah, so
going through all those old pictures and everything, it found just cool stuff. Because we always had select cars that always stayed in our family. We had the 67 Dart GT, and my dad's 73 Duster, and then my grandpa's 65 Satellite. And just seeing those cars progress, because they've always, you know, been in our family, just progress through time, and then see the other cars that actually got mixed in through the years. And yeah, it's cool to see and cool to think about, especially the Dart, because the Dart hasn't changed since 1970. It still looks the same way. So
that's awesome.
And actually, I pulled up this. Let me screen share a second. This thing will cooperate. Here we go. Not that one. This one here. This is my dad's 67. But yeah, that's It's got old drag race stickers, both windows, and this is just the same way it's been since 1970.
Awesome.
So, yeah. But yeah, it's just cool seeing the cars progress like that. So what's your favorite car related story with your dad, Willie?
I'm not sure if I shared this before. I think I've shared it with a few folks. So as mentioned, my dad had a 69 green Valiant, and it had a little bit of funkiness underneath the hood. He literally outran the cars with the lights on the roof. But for good reason. He came across a dog being tortured, actually being hung by a window sash chain over a tree limb, and he saw the limb moving. There wasn't any wind. Thought to himself, that tree's moving for some odd reason. So he hopped the fence, saw this dog, big old German Shepherd Husky part wolf, being hung, one paw, rear paw touching the ground. So he pulls out his buck knife, starts digging at this sash chain, and boom, breaks the tip of the knife off, which he did send back to Buck, and they actually repaired the knife for him, by the way. Something guaranteed for life. He was a knife guy. The dog happened to jump the fence, real good dog at jumping fences, by the way, into the car. Well, he got spotted doing this, and they called the police on him, and he got chased almost 3 counties in this, Valiant. Now, of course, this was back in the 70s. He's got, a whiskey sour in the little drink holder, the ones you bought in like Kmart or Walmart, sat right over the hump. Yeah, things aren't looking good, but he figured he got nothing to lose. He just stole a dog, didn't want to see a dog tortured. So he hid out for a couple of days at his aunt, actually the aunt that I got the Volare off of. I bought that car, by the way. I didn't just get it. But this was 1977. He stole a dog to save a dog's life, and he outran the cops with his Valiant. The end of the story goes like this. We contacted the SPCA. They got us a couple of lawyers. They saved my dad all kinds of hassle, and they arrested folks for animal torture. Apparently, they found other evidence of animal torture in the house. So, and then we got a dog out of the deal. So we had a dog for a good, 6 or 7 years. It's that's probably like the best Mopar story about my dad. There's probably plenty of others that I probably shouldn't share over a live feed. That's harmless. The kids weren't in the car, by the way. Well, at least the young kids weren't. My brother was in the car to corroborate the story, so it was pretty interesting stuff. But the fun stuff is like, I find remnants of stuff my dad did, and I was showing this to you earlier. So this is 2 sockets welded together, a 7/8 half-inch drive. Obviously, he needed a deep well socket, and he just couldn't get one deep well enough. So he welded some, looks like schedule 80, perhaps. So schedule 80 pipe, made his own, and look at them welds, man. I can't weld worth my life's dependent on it. I'm gonna die. I can't weld or solder. These aren't flapper wheeled. This is him, landing that, and look how plumb that is. That is perfect.
Looks great.
Yeah. So, and I'm not even sure. This was in the toolbox. I'm not sure what this. I thought might have been for torsion bar, for F body. Nah, it's 15/16. It's not 7/8. I don't think that's a 7/8 on the end, but it is a 12 point. I guess I should test it out, see if he didn't like take a 7/8 on one end and a 15/16 on the other to, you know, it's something. Eventually I'll figure it out. I'll find it written down in one of his notes, like, oh, made an extended socket out of some scheduled, 80 or whatever, 140 pipe, whatever that is. All I know is this thing is space shuttle ready. This is solid. I got to do some welding on a frame. I'm scared what I'm going to produce, but damn, I wish I possessed this talent. And I know folks are like, there's nothing big about that. Come on. This is cool. I'll find out. I'll find a use for this son of a bitch. This is cool. Great. Yeah. More dad stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh, I got one. All right. So I've told part of the story before, but I haven't showed it. This is a story about my grandpa, actually. In the early 2000s, actually, I think it actually was 2000, but my dad blew up the motor in his Duster. So that was like the last time my dad and grandpa actually drag raced for almost 20 years. So we have a show called Mopars versus Fords, and it's down at Martin Raceway here in Michigan. And I convinced grandpa to go, and my dad came too. He red lighted, of course, but I convinced grandpa to go. Grandpa hadn't raced in a very long time, and this is a 70-some-year-old man. But we actually went through. He started because it's bracket racing, which is what he'd done in his whole life, and he started just going through, knocking them down one by one. This 70-year-old man putting down consistent times, and yeah, I haven't got there yet, dear. My wife's shouting in the background. Here, actually, I'll throw this up here. This is, I don't know how grainy it's going to come up to, or if it will play sound. Can you hear anything?
Not yet.
All right. It might not share sound, but this is the finals. Actually, he made it all the way to the finals. He's racing a 5.0 Mustang here. And the semifinals, he actually raced the track champion that year, and it was Volare. And it was a very interesting day because the Volare guy was very angry that he lost. He actually smashed his helmet into the trailer that day when he lost this old man. And yeah.
Far out. That's awesome. Look at that. He's got him by a length and a half.
Yep.
Wow.
And yep. Old man who hadn't raced in 20 years. He went out that day and he showed every local guy there what a 70-year-old man can do. And I remember awesome. He was getting ready for the semifinals. I could watch him, and he's sitting there drinking his water, and his hands are just shaking. And I'm like, what are you worried about? You made it this far. You didn't even think you're going to make it past the first round. So, yeah, that was actually one of the last times he drag raced, actually. So I was very glad that I was there shortly after he got very sick. So, well, I was supposed to be there that day. So
good times, man.
But the best part about it, because when you're bracket racing, you go up and shake the other guy's hand that you lost to. And I remember this kid, he had a awesome looking Challenger, just all kinds of money into it, and he's walking around my grandpa's car, and he's just, you're not even running cheater slicks. And grandpa looks him straight in the face, and he says, no, actually, I bought those tires at Walmart on clearance like 10 years ago. And sure enough, they're not even Yokohamas. I think they're Yokohimas or something, but they were just some trailer tires. But that guy, he just scratched his head like, how do you make it hook every time just perfectly on $20 clearance Walmart tires? So
Awesome.
yeah, that was a great memory. Great memory. Oh, so
Yeah, it's interesting that some of those tire stories. I mean, I know we were bopping around one of our old boneyard junkyards, and some of this
mhm.
stuff hadn't been touched in 40 years. I mean, just really, really old stuff. And we saw a set of squared off edge, uh, I'll go, they might have been N50s, but they were something. But they said J.C. Penney right in Boston, the rubber sidewall. So just thinking, wow, J.C. Penney sold like, G60s and N50s and G50s. I think it was a G50 actually. So
Oh yeah.
it was just pretty damn awesome that like department stores would sell tires, for the muscle cars. Pretty.
I have a set of Spartan Nashes. Spartan Nash is I think it's just Midwest, but it's got like a green giant dude for a figure, and I don't even think there's any of them left around here. But it's called a Spartan Nash 500.
So I remember Spartan tires, and I remember them at least around here back in the early '90s. If you needed
there's
a
a
match,
Spartan.
yeah,
Go ahead.
if
There's a
you needed a
Spartan and a
match,
Spartan Nash.
yeah, if you needed a match to like say some of like the like BF made like a sort of a track tire. I think Spartan made a copy of it, a little bit cheaper. Because I actually had to buy a replacement one. I had to go down like a couple, probably next county over to a tire specialty place to get it. But they had the Spartan Nash logo on their wall. But again, this was like in what's one of our, we call like our farmers market in the next town. It was like just random vendors, and this guy sold tires out of there, and he had them. Now I don't know if he had Spartan Nashes in there in his inventory, but he definitely had the sign, and he had the actual Spartan BF equivalent. But yeah, some of those old tires, they're real cool.
Did you see the ones I got yesterday?
Yeah.
The Summits. Those things are like brand new. It's crazy.
Yep.
And they're what are they, 30th week of 76 or something like that? But yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
And they're not like cut up, or I don't even know if they even hit the road. I mean, there's so much tread on them. But I actually seen the guy at the car show today, and he came and flagged us down and talked to us for a minute. So, but yeah, I like seeing those. I want to line the whole one side of my garage with just vintage tires, just to look at. Because why not?
Yeah, something kind of like my other venture, Willie's House of Wheels, where I've got all like the Champ 500s, the center lines, the Kraegers, the slots. Just a wall of old wheels, and they're not trashed. I mean, these are good sets that I buy things out of order. So I got these wheels. Now I just need to find more cars to bolt them to. So
I was going to ask you this the other day. I don't know if it'll pop up on the screen.
What are you doing?
Nope. All right. Hold on. She's chewing on a toy. My wife's yelling at the dog. Let me see if I can pull it up on the screen here in a minute. There's some ET mags. I never even heard of them. I've heard of ET slots.
So ET made several. They make a Kraeger lookalike. They make a Keystone lookalike. Make a Raider, you know, the defective Raider wheels, like what was on the original Batmobile, what was on the Mannix 68 convertible Dart, that had a Raider wheel that cracked, so they replaced it with the following, I think, late 69 in the Mannix third season of Mannix, they had Cregers on it. I want to say maybe even the Munster coach might have had Raider wheels on it. But ET,
that one right there.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. Yeah. So those, I think they're cast just like the slot.
Notice the first line. I didn't even notice that.
I can barely read it.
Oh, it says we didn't make them for your father. He's all
Yeah.
all caps.
Yep. Now, sadly, most of those wheels would be 14-inch. A lot of the advantage back in the day with the 14-inch was, well, first off, you're running drum brakes on a lot of these cars up front. Not too many were upgraded to disc, at least for hot rodding. But the 14s, you know, it's what they ran. They got a little better durability out of them. A lot of these cars weren't meant for a 15-inch. I know, like the E-bodies, the guys would say, "Oh yeah, you got to roll your fenders for a CUDA." Yeah, I know. Throw 15s on a late 60s A body, it looks a little off. I mean, you're definitely going to be tucking or lifting or doing something. 15s on a Volare, we know what happens if you go too wide. 15x7 is about the biggest you want to go up front. Stiff your 15x8s, your Super Coupe wheels on a regular car, and you're hitting. That's why they can opener the fenders at the factory to get them to fit and put the flares on. But yeah, the 15x7s that are on the M bodies through the 80s, I mean, those fenders are bigger. The lip is bigger, so they can handle them. But yeah, the ET, I mean, besides Cregger and besides Keystone, you know, you had ET, you had Champion, you had Appliance, you had all those rim makers out there. Because it was the trending thing, you know, just like back in that late 90s, early 2000s, you had, you know, the Foose wheels, you had the Momos, you had all those, you know, big wheels coming out. And even in the 2000s, when the rim diameter got bigger and bigger and bigger and, you know, ridiculous. I mean, some of those rim manufacturers, you go to like the truck and SUV venue and you'll see them, they're huge. And I mean, I don't like them per se, but I understand what you can do with a bigger diameter rim is you can go and get a very good, very large braking system, which is very important. And again, we're talking money, but if you're going to do any kind of conversion of braking improvement and you need to get a 6-piston caliper or a 4-piston caliper, you're not going to fit that, I don't believe, under a 14-inch mag, unfortunately. Heck, even some of the 14s that were on some of the cars, I remember my 76 didn't like 14-inch slots. They would hit the caliper going down the road. I had to put a little machine groove in the rim and then notch a little bit of the caliper just to make it fit. And that's a 14. But, you know, a lot of those were cast. None of them were spun. You know, none of them were billet or CNC. The new wheels that, you know, they put out, I'll tip the camera down. I mean, those are U.S. wheel. I got those in 2018. They take an Acorn nut and they're, you know, hub-centric. I've driven this thing up on the highway, clear above 55 mile an hour where it's legal, of course, and can let go of the steering wheel and it stays straight and hasn't an alignment in years, but everything's tight and good for up front. But the back is still a shank lug with a washer and the shackles, and it walks and waddles and does all kinds of crazy stuff. But the front is good and tight. I got it sitting up a little higher, so I bet you if I dropped it down, loosen everything up and drop it back down. So I know the question came up the other day on how do you drop them. Well, you definitely want to loosen up, the upper and lower control arms. You want to get the weight off the bar, so when you move it, you can't crank those torsion bar bolts with the weight of the car, and you got to jack it up a little bit and get the weight off the car so you're able to turn that nut, not stress it. I've never seen one break, but I imagine, if you get the right moment and it stresses it, you could. But yeah, those old wheels, I mean, again, the nostalgic of them, they were cool.
I just never seen a set like that. Or what's that? A set of center caps like that, like an oval.
Yeah, with that splined excussion out. I've seen that. I've seen that, and I've actually seen a Cragar version that came. So Cragar made your typical Cragar SS. They also made a Cragar GT, which looks like an SS. However, it's the different center metal. So the rim barrel is made of steel, I believe, and the center is aluminum. Maybe I have it backwards. I've only seen it in pictures. However, a buddy of mine back in the mid-'80s had a set of ETs that looked like Cragars, but the centers were aluminum and the dish was steel. Can't explain how they married the metal together, but somehow they did. Modern times, the last 20, 25 years, there's ways to marry steel to aluminum using high voltage. I don't really know too much other than that. I've seen it at like Dana Corp, where they married truck frames, aluminum components with steel. But the wheels, the old wheels, man, they all have a story as well. My dad was never into, much of the aftermarket wheel stuff. He liked having the dog dish, pottery dish hubcap on his Plymouth. He hated when I put the slot mags on the Volare. Was not a fan. He was like, why are you attracting attention? And, well, never really got pulled over. I got pulled over once with the slots on it. And it was actually a friend of mine who was the cop. And we sat and BS'd for a while, from the neighborhood. And just thought my inspection sticker was bad, and it wasn't. It was good. Back then it could pass. But I think I got pulled over more in the truck than anything. Actually, the most pullovers I had was in my Neon ACR, for obvious reasons. That thing was just meant to do one thing, go faster than anything else right out of the box, and wasn't meant to go long. I got rid of that car at 23,000 miles because it scared me. I said, this thing's either going to get me arrested, going to get me killed, or it's just going to go kaboom one day and I'll be without a car. Motor-wise, it was strong. It was, I think, everything else. The first year Acer was not, they didn't enhance anything suspension-wise yet. That wasn't until, like, I think the 98 ACR is where I think they came out with the true RT package for the Neon. I think that was actually the last year for the two-door Neon. Yeah, I had one of those for about a year and a half, and then I think I did get rid of it finally when I just saw the writing on the wall, and I got another ticket with it. So I said, let's get something slower. Let's get the SST. So I traded it for the SST, and that's a whole other story in itself. My old man liked the SST. He used to steal it from me all the time.
We got 2 SSTs at the local boneyard. They use them for drive shaft storage. the one has got drive shafts over the cab, and then the cab's like smashed with drive shafts on top of it. And it's blue, and then the other one's black. But,
So the blue one's an Indy truck. That's a 96.
okay.
Yeah. That's actually what I ordered. I ordered a blue one, and I missed the mark. And then the next model year was already out, and they only made them in black. They made them white with blue stripes, of course. And then, of course, they made them red with silver and then green with silver. But yeah, the drive shaft storage. It's a shame because I've seen trucks like mine like beat on and pretty rough. But you know, that's how a lot of these vehicles get used anyway. I mean, Velaris, Aspens, Diplomats, station wagons, M bodies. It's you know, used quality, and not meaning, you know, used and abused so much. It's just some of these cars get put through the paces, and you know, you drive them every day, you drive them hard. I mean, my daily, I mean, I'm looking at it, it's got, you know, paint chips all over the place. I mean, I've driven it like a truck. Some days it's my junking car, some days, and it's a, you know, my daily, it's semi luxury. I took my kid's car down the Gators yesterday, the 91 Yoda, and I'm ripping down the country roads. You know, I got stuff for Gator, and I got stuff for some other guys. You know, we're all going to head down the Gators. There was some wind. A limb fell out of a tree. I swerved to avoid it, and I went to regain, you know, back into the lane because there's oncoming traffic. That Toyota just decided it didn't want to stay on the road, and it just, I had no control. It's front wheel drive. I never had a car just go leaping into this like farmer's field, and it did a couple of 360s. And, you know, I figured, well, I got the car for next to nothing. I think I got $80 into it. Maybe a replaced taillight. I got another 50 into it. I don't know. So I wasn't scared, other than I hope I don't hit anything solid or there's nothing in that field I can't see. But yeah, I never had a car do that, where it was like as if I overcompensated and it just shot off the road. So I got it, you know, pretty much I got to get it up in the air and see if there's maybe something going on, like a tie rod end, something, the rack, maybe a brake locked up. I'm not sure what happened. I've never seen a car. I wasn't going that fast either, maybe 45 mile an hour. But if I can't determine what it is, and it's just the fact that the car's got maybe a little bit too much road agility on it. I mean, it's my kid's car. I probably should find her something else if this thing's going to be that unpredictable on the road. You know, I know my daily would have easily, you know, been able to compensate, you know, a quick swerve around something. But yeah, the butt end of that Yoda just came around on me too easily, like as if the back end locked up, which I don't think they did, but I, you know, didn't see any skid marks. But
Right.
I mean, it just, you know, just a weird handling car. Don't like it. Was never big on some of those front wheel drives that, you know, they have a lot of that torque steer, and you know, they're all over the road. I mean, the Neon Acer had it. It got better, I think, and the SRT4s got better. But I mean, if you drive it expecting it to be unpredictable, I think you're fine. But if you're driving it like you would drive an everyday driver, and you kind of like in the mindset figure, well, this thing's pretty stable, it's pretty stable, and then it does that, and it jumps itself into a farmer's field, you know. So I called Gator. I said, hey, I was just playing Dukes of Hazzard out here up the road from me. I'll be in your place in about 5 minutes. Let me just, you know, make sure I didn't, you know, kill a scarecrow in the farmer's field. Yeah. So.
Well, on that note, I think probably gonna call it a night. Promised my wife we'd watch some TV tonight, but I want to make sure we came on here for a little bit. So
Yeah. So, couple of plugs. I think some folks saw the video from Gators with the red 75. That's Quickie mean ass car, and of course, parked behind it is his new Super Coupe. So now Gators has 2 Super Coupes, 2 RT Aspens, 5 Volare Roadrunners, and of course,
Hoarder.
there's a couple of darts. He's more than a hoarder. I think he's just addicted. He's got a very, very bad addiction, NLHL, whatever you want to call that disease. But to that, we're gonna do some things as mentioned before. We're gonna do some 75 Roadrunner stuff, both with his white one and his red one. White one's getting a frame rail and some floor fixed on it. Actually, I think the frame rail is fine. I think it's just the floor they're going to fix. And then we'll have some video and we'll document that. My Monday car cruise in my town, well, it's not actually mine. I just attended. I keep getting accused of it being mine. It's not. And, we give away free Hot Wheels, courtesy of Gators and, South Jersey car shows and swap meets, a couple things that we're involved with around here. So it's pretty good time. Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty much all I got, man.
Yeah, we're not doing a whole lot this week. I gotta work on my tractor some more. So
Yeah, you're really getting into those tractors, I see. I'm really impressed.
that thing is so simple mechanically. I didn't know they were that simple. I mean, there's no timing adjustment, and the distributor can only go in one way. It can't go in 180. It won't physically go. And the only reason that thing didn't run initially is because the distributor cap itself was just caked entirely with just full of dirt. So I cleaned that out and I set the points. Second turn of the crank, that thing just went. Bah, 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 bah.
Awesome.
But the replacement parts for it are just insane. I mean, they make everything. It's like a 350 Chevy. It's insane. I can buy a whole new hood for like $50 for it. A whole hood.
And that's a 30. Is that a 30 or 60-year-old tractor?
It's a 49, so that's however old that is. What, 60?
No. 49, that's 80.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah.
They make everything for it.
Yeah, that's close to 80 years old, man.
Yep. And you can literally buy every piece of it. I love it.
Awesome.
I'm not used to that at all. So, Chris has one question before we get out of here.
Was it slammed or the K-frame shot? K-frame. I don't know if you kind of hear our mumbling in the video. K-frame on the driver's side is gone. We have a couple of lines on the replacement. Have no fear. According to the books, 74 all the way up to 79, or maybe even 72 all the way up to 79 will fit that. So we'll get one. And much like the white 75 Roadrunner, Gator will put all new, polyurethane bushings. It'll be mechanically sound. Probably I'll give it till Labor Day. We're gonna have some fun this summer. We're gonna do a Gators pig roast probably in September sometime. Get a bunch of local guys
bash?
down. What's that now?
Hoopty bash?
Yeah, we'll have a bunch of cars down on the farm and in the swamp. So I'll whip up some burgers, some dogs, some pulled pork, and some wings. Since as much as I'm a shitty welder, I'm actually not too bad at getting up some decent grub. For that feature. So I've been known. But yeah, the 75, the red one's going to get a new K-frame. Other than that car is pretty solid.
Good.
Chris, you want an invite? Definitely keep your eyes peeled on Gators Mopar Swamp Garage. We'll be posting stuff up there. We've got a new T-shirt design. Hey, Mike Woj wants to get in. Awesome. You're not that far. You're actually closer than we thought. That you probably can hit Gators quicker than I can hit Gators because I'm a click north or so. I think you're just a little bit of a click west. You just got to jump across a bridge to get there. But we're looking at that. Looking to get some a new T-shirt design for Gators. I think it's going to be a mixture of Gators Swamp Garage, Gators Connection, kind of like direct connection, kind of a ploy on both.
Nice.
Get some T-shirts made up because the local count has gone up. I mean, we keep finding more and more of the these Mopar guys. Gator and I just met another one yesterday. Well, he knew him. I met him for the first time. The guy's, old school, building models, and he's got this, got that, got a garage full of stuff. It's where we acquired some of the books. It's in fact, I hope he and that guy and his wife, they said they're going to head up to the Monday show tomorrow night in my town, get some of that homemade ice cream that the ice cream shop makes. So we keep finding them. And again, some of this stuff is just too fun not to share, not to have fun. So,
it's
all right.
We met a guy that lives about an hour away, and he's got a Dodge 43 today.
There you go. Awesome.
But all right, I'm gonna shut this down, and I'm gonna let you get back to your family, and I'm gonna get back to mine.
Right.
We still got to put the go-kart away. So,
all right. Well, happy Father's Day to all the guys out there, and we'll see you on the next run. Later.
See ya.